Hey everybody! Welcome back to Northern Lion Plays the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth. 35 wins in a row. Still trucking. So far so good. This one, ooh, the Nail, Explosivo, 3 HP. And decent damage to start with. T637 PEEH. I am just gonna say it. If your P is H, you should go see, I mean, maybe a nephrologist, possibly a urologist. It depends on where the H is coming from. Especially if it's H to the Izzo, G to the Izzo, you should go see Hove. Sentence did not feel natural. Sure, we'll D8 ourselves once. Seems like we're firing faster and walking slower. That's pretty terrible, but you know what? It shuffled up the run. Helps us avoid just getting into a position where we're all too comfortable. And the high rate of fire is actually going to be very nice with Explosivo. So as long as we can pick up a speed upgrade or at least not pick up a speed downgrade, I'm completely okay with this. But for now, I mean, I don't want to be too cocky. It's not a good attitude, you know? Bravado, it's got to be handled in the right way, and I tend to not, you know, try to handle it in the right way. I just stay modest. But I don't want to be disingenuous either. I don't want to be like, oh, this run could go either way, because it really, compared to a lot of our recent runs, it started with some huge advantages. It started with a lot of win enablers. Explosivo basically is a huge damage upgrade that means that we don't need damage upgrades for at least a little while here. The Nail means that we can make a ton of mistakes and not lose. So I'd say we're at like at least a 90% chance for a victory from the start here. The most likely cause of death on this run is not self-damage to Explosivo, in my opinion. It's probably getting a full run reroll that just sucks the big one via Explosivo or other, or no, sorry, via Missing No or otherwise, or never getting good stuff after right now. Like, if we don't get good items from this point onwards, we'll probably start to feel the burn in a few floors. Honestly, for like at least until like the Caves 2, I think this run is like absolutely fine. Pin is one of the hardest bosses we can fight just because of the fact that Explosivo is pretty hard countered by him, but still we, you know, just thrashed him there. We got through the first floor doing basically every room in like 2 minutes. Much better than our last run, which ended up also being like a 25-minute run where we did Mega Satan. But we did get a lot of momentum on that last run as well. But that's alright, you know, it just means more cushion for the commentary here. The High Priestess, which we'll probably use on this boss. I really like getting an early High Priestess. It just makes your life easier when it comes to those, you know, first four bosses, of course. You remember that classic Jason Bateman, Jason Sudeikis, Charlie Day film, horrible bosses. I don't think we want to use the Nail here. I think we want to use it in, well, I was going to say the next room, but maybe the next room with combat is a better way to put it. We'll see. I don't think that even like getting thrown off of our deal with the devil equilibrium can do anything to us. Like, it's just so unlikely right now that we end up eating shit on this run, I think. But it's just gonna make it all that much sweeter if we do, for those of you who like to watch these for like the NL kind of sucks at Isaac sort of moments, which I have to say have been increasingly rare lately. We've been doing a much better job of kind of holding our Isaac shit together. And I don't know why it is. I don't know if it's variance or some kind of like subtle shift in the way that I play. I do think that probably, that's the speed downgrade there, but I do think that the more Isaac you win in a row, the better you play on future runs, because you're like, you know, you're incentivized to play better. Because you're not just playing for a 2 streak anymore. There's actually some stuff on the line. Let's try top right item. Mom's bottle of pills. Gave us a relax. That is terrible. But it is, if we're gonna be, you know, always look on the bright side of life, well, at least we, let's stick with the lipstick for now. At least we got one item that pushes us towards the mom transformation. The other less unlikely way that we could actually die on this run is a little bit of greed. But also, you know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. What if we get 9 lives here and then never get any good upgrades after that? That takes away a lot of our HP, yet still puts us in a... Oh, come on. Yet still puts us in a position where it's a smart decision to take it, but it may not be the, it may be a decision that leads to hell for us as well. Come on, just explode. Oh my lord. The Widow, if we just catch one explosion on it, it's done. Like, there's no chance. But it's jumping like at the perfect interval to stop it. Okay, you are dead. We got PJs, which is a lot of spirit hearts, and we'll probably take both of these. Ghost Baby is just okay. Ceremonial Robes is really good. Alright, so I'm happy with that. Mostly happy with Ceremonial Robes, but Ghost Baby, sure, it's there now. We didn't trade much for it. We got Curse of the Labyrinth on this floor. One thing that we're very obviously lacking right now is consumables, but that's pretty unlikely to throw us under the bus here. I think that, you know, we're probably safe for another few floors before we need to start worrying too much. And Sin Robe's actually, you know, it's keeping us on pace, which is good. Oh, man. It feels good to be back in the groove with Isaac. It's really hard to, you know, you probably have experienced it in your life. Sometimes you feel unbeatable, and I don't mean that to come from a bragging standpoint. I really think that there's some subtle level of human psychology. Box of Spiders is pretty good, but I think I'm gonna roll with a nail, for the time being at least. There's some subtle, and sports psychology I think deals with this, but to be honest with you, I don't know enough about sports psychology to say whether or not that's actually true. Keep in mind, by the way, the nails activation comes with a speed downgrade, which is, somewhat deleterious for us right now. But, you know, there's that concept of like a flow state where you just see things really well. You know, you can look at a scene and just understand what's going on with respect to, you know, your hobby of choice. And I really feel that way with Isaac right now. Like, even though I still take some dumb damage, I'm looking at the room, and as soon as I walk in, I'm like, I know roughly what's gonna happen here, and I can improvise within there to make it work. Sometimes you just lose that, and you don't know where it goes, man. It's like getting the yips. I'm a firm believer in statistics, for the most part. And I hate when, you know, sports casters, they get into conversations like, well, it just looks like Pittsburgh wanted it more. Like, that's the most needlessly reductive discussion of all time. People train their whole life, be good at a sport. Yeah, they didn't want it as much as the other guys. You know, I'm just happy to be here in the finals, you know? It's not like I've dreamed of this moment my whole life. It's not like they're just playing better. But, I don't know, man. There's some subtlety to it. I don't feel like the same Isaac player I was, you know, 100 runs ago. But in many ways, in the most fundamental of ways, I am. But now we're getting, I have to reel myself back, because I'm getting a little bit into when did I become a god territory, which is pretty self-inflating here. You know, you're your own worst enemy when it comes to your ego sometimes as well, you know. You're your own worst enemy when it comes to, you know, you're your harshest critic, but you're also your greatest fan. You can be, at least. But for the most part, I recognize that I'm a piece of crap. And then, you know, one day we're all gonna, you know, be buried in the ground or incinerated and then used as fertilizer for trees. I know I talk about this as if it's a joke, and that's because it's a joke. But at the same time, if we as a society, or we as a species, let's say, one day discover the key to immortal life, I'm gonna be so pissed. Unless I'm alive, in which case I'm gonna be, like, super happy. It's not that I'm afraid of death, because, and I really feel like, you know, sometimes it's a controversial opinion to say, like, if immortality was invented, I'd take it, because we've got this, like, you know, the natural order police out here are like, hey, death's a part of life, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I don't think it's, you know, that selfish to say you'd want to live forever. I think it's a very natural human emotion, or human reaction. But the reason I'd be pissed is not just because I would be dead. But I would be pissed because, you know, we make jokes. We're in the, you know, 21st century here. We make jokes about, like, the Black Plague. I know the Black Plague still has, you know, some cases every single year, but it's like, the only reason that it was such a big deal was because it was the 13th century and people didn't know the causes and nobody could wash their hands, you know, etc., etc. But we make jokes about the Black Death. It's like, it's not a real thing to us anymore. And it'll totally be like that, but 10 times worse if immortality gets invented. Imagine, like, 5 generations from now, kids smoking space weed in their college dorm rooms to How fucked up would it be to live in the year 2016 and know that one day you're just gonna close your eyes and never wake up again? You fucking idiots, they didn't even invent immortality yet. I'm gonna be up there in hero heaven because I'm gonna save a lot of lives towards the end of my time here on planet Earth. Probably die, you know, maybe saving a bunch of kids from a burning orphanage or something like that. And I'll be like, damn you, whippersnappers. I took Libra, by the way, which is pretty noteworthy, even though I didn't note it at all here. It's a little scary, but honestly, our stats still seem okay, which means that actually popping the nail is going to be a small stats downgrade every time we do it, hilariously enough. But dude, that's like, I mean, I guess I won't be around, unless it gets invented. Well, I'm still alive. But I'm pretty skeptical of that. We're still working on, like, you know, the self-driving car. Making it so our, you know, cells during division stop, like, reducing the size of their telomeres is, like, a greater, it's probably a greater problem to solve for a variety of different reasons. And then, the other thing is that, like, I guess it's not exempt. Like, if we stop aging, if we come up with a cure to aging, which I know sounds ridiculous, but so did flight, man. I'm not saying it's gonna happen this year. I'm just saying, I think in a long tale of history, you'd be best to bet on mankind. We've done some pretty sweet stuff. But imagine having, like, immortality. Like, you never age. All other things being equal, you could live forever. Doesn't that just mean that, like, every death in the future is gonna be incredibly tragic? Because right now, if somebody dies in a car accident or something like that, by the way, if this has happened to you recently and it's bringing up bad feelings, I apologize. I'm not mining your discomfort for humor. I'm just trying to add some absurdity to the situation, because this is the way that, this is my actual worldview. This is what happens when I'm riding my bike. I'm like, I'll be really pissed if they invent immortality like 2 days after I die, but right now, maybe someone's 50, they die in a car accident. Tears. At least he'd lived like an okay life, you know. He probably would have had like a good 30, 40 years left, but at least he didn't die like super young, right? But now, what if you're 500 and then you get like food poisoning and it just kills you? You know, you eat poison accidentally or something like that. You've missed out, I should say, on infinity years of life. That is a crushing existential question that I can't even fathom right now. Because at least now, if you're part of my generation, I'm going to be honest with you, we're probably fucked. We're probably on the way out from a you know, living forever standpoint. I'm a little skeptical that anybody listening to this, not to offend you, but I don't think anybody listening to this, if I had to make a bet, is probably going to make it to immortal life. So, I mean, that's pretty shitty for us, but we're all in this together, right? Don't shoot the messenger. But at least, if/when we die, which I think is, you know, probable, if I'm not being too much of a egomaniac right now, we can die with a little bit of a smile on our face, knowing we didn't fuck up our chance at living for infinity, you know, until the heat death of the universe or something like that. But you gotta, I imagine that, like, if you fell, like, off of a treehouse or something, as you're falling, you'd be like, well, really fucked up my chance of this one. In a way, maybe it's a blessing that we don't have to deal with the crushing expectations of eternal life. Like, I imagine that if you could live forever, people are going to be so concerned with safety. Because no longer is it going to be, you know, oh, well, their life was tragically cut short. It was going to be like their life tragically missed out on possibly 8 to 9 billion years of enjoyment. So, and I recognize, okay, there's environmental concerns and societal concerns that may preclude humanity from lasting that long. But again, as much as it may sound like I'm cynical, I believe in the power of mankind. I believe, ooh, maybe Tammy's head? I believe in mankind's ingenuity. That was very stupid of me. Not to believe in mankind's ingenuity, but to take that damage right there. And, you know, it might not look great right now, but I gotta, not to make people complacent, but I got a sneaking suspicion we're gonna find our way out of some of these messes. However, I think we're gonna stick with the nail for now. Is this an XL floor? It's not. However, I don't know, man. Eternal life. Hopefully, eternal life and time travel are invented. Maybe this is just me, you know, being biased because I'm of the generation that is gonna, have their grandkids live forever, and I'm unfortunately never gonna see it. Well, hopefully I'll see them live for some amount of time, otherwise what am I wasting all this time eating vegetables for? But, they should invent time travel, and they should be like, alright, first off, look, if you're alive right now, at the time of this invention, you guys are gonna get it. But first, we have to time travel back, and we have to give eternal life to everybody that's ever existed before. It's only fair that they get it first. It's not fair that half of the people get to live forever and half the people get to live for 60 years. That's some haves and have-nots situations right there, But, and of course, probably some of history's greatest monsters should not be given this power of eternal life, is my guess. We can handle that at the Hog, though, We can have, like, some, the Hog, I don't, where they do the war trials. We'll deal with that. You, Genghis Khan, are sentenced to not experience immortal life. Sorry that we brought you back from the dead via time travel just to kill you again. That's real shitty. We'll come to terms with that over the rest of our immortal lives. Oh, thank God we did get a deal with the devil here. Little Gish and, it's just Crampo, but that's okay. Gotta be honest, this episode has kind of gone off the rails, but from a commentary standpoint, I'm still... I'm a big fan of it. And I truly believe what I'm saying to you right now. I'm just trying to bring light to the situation as well. I'm not actually, crushed under the weight of the possibility that we'll miss out on eternal life. Most of the time I wake up and I'm like, well, I'm hungry, Oh, I'm thirsty. Oh, my knees are itchy. Only I didn't say knees. But, it is one of, that we're, it's hilarious. It's innately funny that we live in a world, I think, where with all this scientific progress, I'm kind of like, maybe we should be worrying about eternal life. Like, I don't buy the idea, I'm not a scientist, but I don't buy the idea that it's an unsolvable problem. I think it's a real tough problem to solve. And, you're talking to the guy who can't even put together a piece of IKEA furniture by himself, so I'm not the guy to solve it. What, would you take eternal life? First off, would you take eternal life? Leave your answer in the comments below. But I was gonna do a would you rather, but I don't know, man. Eternal life is such a weird question. I'm glad we're getting into some metaphysical discussion on the show. Finally, my one true passion. Fuck all this NHL stuff. The only NHL I stand for is the stock ticker symbol for nihilism. That joke does not work. But here's the thing. You might say, like, you're not for eternal life, and you're making a stand. But the problem is that people will just be like, alright, see you later then. You're dead. Your side of the debate has lost because, history's written by the survivors in this case. So I think if you really are against the idea of eternal life, the ultimate irony is, if you really want your position to become known, you have to take the cure to death. And then, fight for the right to die over the course of the rest of eternity. What an ironic situation. That's an Alanis Morissette-ism right there. You gotta think, though, like, if immortality gets invented, there's gonna be, like, some fucked up historic moments in human history. Like, imagine being alive when, like, the last person to die of old age died. That would be fucking surreal! That's like hundreds of thousands of years of Homo sapien evolution all coming together and then like reaching kind of like an enormous pivotal point in the history of that species. That's crazy. For a species to exist on, you know what? We should try to get to the boss fight. It's getting into a little bit of pseudo-intellectual territory. I like to stay away from this stuff because I am a believer in science, and I'm a believer that the more you know you don't know. I'm not taking dunce cap. I refuse. The more you know you don't know. Oh, these are great rerolls, at least. My reflection. Ooh, my little pretty one. Pretty one. When you gonna give me some my reflection? The answer is now. I'm gonna give me some my reflection now. Game Kid. Ooh, I don't really like what I'm doing here, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I totally forgot what I was saying. It's like Minecraft, man. It's like man was invented to Minecraft, is what I'm trying to say here. No, what I was gonna say is like, man, we were placed on this world, or evolved on this world. Rocks, sticks, trees, occasional lightning strikes leading to the wonder of fire. And then we're like, okay, give us a few million years. We come back, we say, guess what? We cured death, you stupid son of a bitch. First we built an iPad, then we cured an existential crisis plaguing mankind for all existence. I think I'm going to prioritize boss rush slightly here. So I'm going to place this bomb, and I'm assuming that our boss fight is going to be pretty close around here. I'd really like to get there fairly soon, like maybe now would be ideal. Okay, sweet. Throw this bomb down here. That was super useful. Alright, crack this, and then use the orbital as is necessary, because we can get out of boss rush. Essentially for the equivalent of the last four floors, I've been talking about fucking eternal life. This is why sometimes I look at the like-dislike ratio of Isaac episodes, and I'm like, why was that one particularly disliked? And I go, oh, that must be the one where I talked about the concept of immortality for so long. I think we're definitely taking 8-inch nails. And, you know, that's fair. But a lot of people are really into this conversation as well. And I like that I don't approach it from the angle of, like, it actually being a serious thing. Instead, I'm like, man, wouldn't it be funny if you were the last person to die? I'd be pissed. I would be a little pissed. But I guess at the end, you know, what are you going to do? You have to get over it. Alright. It's really gonna render, like, if it happens, it's gonna render a lot of, like, popular media pretty much useless. Like, so many movies have someone die of old age in them. We're gonna have, like, you know, our kids are gonna be watching all their movies on future Netflix, hopefully American Netflix, because it's got a better selection. And then, they're gonna be like, Mommy Zebulon, because we're gonna have, like, you know, I was thinking, like, probably, like, 18 moms and 18 dads per child just to get genetic diversity. Mommy Zebulon, what happened to that young lady? She's young, but actually she's 90. Because that's young in this world where you live to infinity. And they say, oh, well, you know, back in the 21st century, when people reached a certain age, even if they didn't accidentally, you know, hit their head on a Zarkmeyer, they still passed away. And then the kid is gonna go, wow, that was fucking stupid. And you'd think that the mom would say, watch your language, but she's not, because in the future, they realize that curse words are just words, and they only have the power over us if we believe that they have the power over us. Also, DAE, money is just paper. In the future, they don't use money. Everybody just shares, and it works because it does. Okay? And every day is Halloween. Why can't we dress up in a... Alright, it's getting ridiculous. Why do we need a special day to dress up like a superhero? What if it's just a Thursday and I want to dress up like Captain America and then go to my job as the police commissioner for the largest city in North America? Space North America, because this is the future now. What an episode. I started this episode and I was like, I have nothing to talk about. And man, did that hold true by the end of it. Not that we're at the end of it yet. Who knows where this journey might take us. I should really start using the nail again. I stopped using it, basically because of the small speed downgrade, which is actually a small everything downgrade thanks to Libra, and because we got an XL floor? We are on an XL floor. Honestly, because we were doing fine as well as the other thing. Like, the run was completely okay on Spirit Hearts. But now, you know, it's probably a smart idea. I don't think we're gonna fight Hush. The run has a certain bend of weirdness to it that I don't necessarily... Oh yeah, we'll take that. It's an all stats up then. I don't necessarily find myself, like, super happy with, but it should still be a pretty easy win here as we approach the end. Plus, we got Eden's Blessing, so we're gonna get a new item on our new starting item on our next Eden run as well, which is really, really good, except when it's not. There is another Isaac streaker, and he just got recently 666 Eden wins in a row, which is crazy good. But I was reading some of the scuttlebutt on him, and unfortunately, this is going to seem like I'm slighting another member of the community. I don't mean it in this fashion. I don't remember their name, and I apologize for that, but people in the comments can illuminate it. He never takes Eden's Blessing because of the fact that it can actually start him with some shitty items, and that's very sensible. That's the kind of thing where I'm like, I'm not the guy who invents the cool stuff. I'm the guy who is maybe like one of the top 30% middle managers in the country. You know, I like to think that sometimes I'm relatively bright, but I'm not, you know, on an Elon Musk level. This guy is the Elon Musk of the Binding of Isaac. You know, he's the Biznap of the Binding of Isaac. Biznap is also the Biznap of the Binding of Isaac, but there's many Elon Musks. It doesn't have to just be one Elon Musk. Even Earth has two Elon Musks. We've got Elon Musk and Tony Stark. Tony Stark was the first Elon Musk, and then Elon Musk became the second Elon Musk, and thus got the namesake. It's a Highlander sort of situation, at least nomenclaturally. But I, you know, have no problem appropriating these strategies and hopefully using them to a decent effect myself. But I don't know if it is a straight shooter with middle management written all over me. We did ignore Guppy's hairball, by the way, and I would do it again given the chance. I don't think that's an appropriate fit for us at the present moment. Especially without 9 lives. If we had 9 lives, I might have considered it, because the worst case scenario is that you still... Oh, this room's a little strange for Shoop the Whoop, but the worst case scenario is that, you know, if you die, you at least come back with 1 HP, and our damage is pretty good. But, we'll just blow this guy up. Without 9 lives, it's a little too catastrophic of a risk, I think. We got Hanged Man and Death. I don't know if Shoop the Whoop is the right choice here, but we've made our bed and we should lie in it. It's too ironic for me to be happy about if we die on the run in which we were talking about eternal life. So I really feel a strong pull to not allow that level of irony to happen, because it would just introduce too much joy and schadenfreude into the world. So I've decided that that can't possibly be allowed to let happen. So instead, slow this guy down temporarily and then blow him up. Grab this. Grab by the ghoulies. So the long and the short of this is, invent time travel before eternal life. That's all I'm asking. I don't think it's that big of an ask. 2 of, you know, human science's greatest problems. Why specify human science? Because, we can't really measure the IQ of a dolphin, man. What are you gonna do? Give a dolphin a human IQ test? Who knows what kind of experiments they're doing down there? Yeah, maybe that dolphin only has the intelligence of a 2-year-old human, but how many years old is its equivalent dolphin in intelligence? I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. These are all freshman year of college conversations. I'm just giving you the fodder for, you know, the back to school season, which is approaching. Not to, you know, make it too real for you. Okay, Infestation 2 is awesome. Super Bandage compromises permanent Polaroid invincibility, but I kind of consider that not a necessary evil, necessarily, but at least worthwhile for the extra Spirit Hearts as well. Spirit Heart? Spirit Hearts, I think. Alright, so Double Gate on a tiny room is one of the tougher rooms that you can actually get. So the fact that we got through that without a considerable problem, I think is indicative of us being in a pretty good state. What's a pretty good state? I don't know. Like Pennsylvania. I'm not trying to insult other states or insult Pennsylvania. But would you say, as an outsider, if you were like, oh, you're going to America, you gotta go to Pennsylvania. Nah, you'd be like, you know, go to New York City, go to somewhere in California, you know, go to Florida, go to Chicago, go to anything that ends in an A, New York, anyway. But that doesn't mean that Pennsylvania's a bad state, you know? You got Pittsburgh, you got Philadelphia, you got Harrisburg, you've got a disproportionate pull in American elections as a result of your highly split electorate and relatively large number of electoral college votes. You got a lot of sports teams, you know? You got culture. I would say This episode's dedicated to you, Pennsylvania. As far as I'm concerned, just a darn good American state. Not like Rhode Island. Don't even get me started on you Newport motherfuckers. I actually don't know anything about Rhode Island. Is anybody watching this from Delaware? If so, what is it like being the only resident of Delaware? And do you live in Dover? Because I think somebody's got to stay in the capital city, and just in case the president calls, right? I'm not trying to insult Delaware, as I recall is the first American state, but it's the state that you always forget about. I don't forget about it because it's the first American state, and obviously Dover is what an incredible site of cultural yada yada. But the state I always forget about, Texas. I know it doesn't make any sense. That's because I just made it up. Okay, 28 minutes and another run in the books. That's win 36. If we lived in a strange future time where months had 36 days in them, this would be a whole month of wins. But instead, it's a month plus 8 to 5 days of victories. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.